Amari Washington is a powerful and physical, dominating defensive tackle with first-round upside who can be an impact day one starter for an NFL team.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I'm Damian, Parson. That's Keith Sanchez. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. On today's episode, we're breaking down the big physical defensive tackle out of Oregon, Amari Washington. We're going to explain the grades, any NFL comps for the big 330-pound DT. Talk about any concerns with this game. But as always, we'd like to start off with the pros. Again, listed at 6'3", 330 pounds. This is a big boy, big grown man on the interior, Keith. 2 sacks, 2 QB hits, I believe 18 pressures on the season. This is a I'm gonna be honest, guys. This is a run stuffer. Like, this is 100% a run stuffer. Not only a run stuffer, but like teams, if you struggle against a run, oh yeah, you want Amari Washington on your team. He's going to absolutely help elevate your run game, keep your linebackers clean. But Keith, what stood out to you on tape when you watched Mr. Washington?
Yeah, it's the raw power, DP. This young man was, and you talked about him being a run stopper. It looked like he was built to stop the run. His mentality is to stop the run. He wakes up thinking about stopping the run. This is your prototype. You can put him at the zero tech, ask him the 2 gap. He can take on centers and guards all day long. He doesn't mind it. He seems like he's committed to it. So, sorry, I went with the raw power. Like, I thought that was impressive. I think he had natural upper body strength. I think he has natural lower body strength, to where you're talking about just anchoring. And we talked about it on yesterday's episode, DP. I think he can do both, right? And I talked about the parts of those who get knocked back, those who stalemate, those who knock the offensive lineman back. He stalemates or he knocks the offensive lineman back. When you line up against him in the run game, you know you're in for a hell of a day, right? Because this young man is not moving. I thought it was I was impressed watching him, DP. And I think there's when you talk about, and we talked about scheme specifics on yesterday's podcast with our guy David Stone. I think there's scheme specific stuff around him, but I think it's intentional. And I think it's one of those things where it's like you don't put him in another position because he's so dominant at this. And you want to talk about the value of having a run stopper like that. I think there's immense value in that.
No, 100%, Keith. Like, this dude is power personified. Like, the ability, like we talked about, like the term knockback power. Oh, he embodies that, Keith. Like, he has like high joltage in the hands. When he strikes, those offensive linemen feel that. And if you leave him in one-on-one situations, like you see, he's got for a big 330-pound guy, Keith, I feel like he's got first step quickness and that he can live in the backfield. Like, to watch him at 330, like, get off the ball. Like, it's just, you don't see guys built like that with that type of weight. And he's not, I want you guys to understand something. He is not a sloppy, like 330. Like, this dude.
Yeah, I think that's important. Yep.
This is not, like, we say 330 because that's what they say, have him weighted at. Don't think he's just some slop. No, this is a well-built, strong, and physical grown man on the interior of your defensive line. And like he's talking about, the 2 gapping ability. He can also shoot gaps and slice in. So you're talking, especially in today's NFL, where there's a lot of disciples of Kyle Shanahan and Coach Sean McVay, and all, like, you get a lot of that West Coast wide zone run scheme in the NFL. And usually big tackle, big 320+ pound guys, they struggle going east and west. You know what I mean? Working laterally. Yeah, not Amari Washington. Like, he steps, he strikes, he's able to create penetration at the line of scrimmage to derail that run play. Because typically, especially depending on what type of running back you got, if you got a running back that's a tracker, like he's a on path runner, he's going to stick to the path that's given. He's going to try to string it out and see what happens. When you got the creative runners, like, yeah, okay, fine, you want to do that, I can stop, cut, plant, cut, and get upfield. Those are the guys that will definitely be able to counter that. But there's not a ton of the Christian McCaffreys, the Bijans, the Jameer, the Saquon, like, those are special. Those are rare air type of dudes. everybody's not going to be able to do that. And then not only if you do it, he does a good job of, he can multitask. Not only am I deconstructing my block, I'm going to stick my big arm out there and slow you down. If I can't tackle you, I'm going to at least slow you down, let my linebackers get the cleanup tackles, and we keep you for a 2-yard gain rather than you busting it up the A-gap, and now you're up the field 30, 40 yards. Like that, the knockback power is just there, Keith. I think this dude can be an absolute problem. And what was the tackle, the D tackle from this past draft? I got the thing pulled up.
Which school did he go to?
Cade McDonald. We were
yeah.
I'm just gonna let y'all know right now. I was super high on Cade McDonald. He went top of the second round to Houston, Texas. I'm gonna be higher on Amari Washington. Now
I forgot he went there. Oh,
yeah.
I got the same feeling all over again when he first got drafted. Like, good luck to everybody else.
Yeah, good luck, right? Jonathan Taylor over there with the Colts. Those stable of running backs in Jacksonville, and whoever's toting the rock in Tennessee. Good luck with that defensive line. All right. Good luck with that. You know, all those quarterbacks got a lot to deal with over there. But we were high on Caden McDonald.
100%.
I'm gonna be that much higher on Amari Washington, Keith. Like I love this kid's ability, the run game. The floor is high, but I think the ceiling is not. I don't think the ceiling is low at all.
Yeah. No, I agree. And with that point, I'm gonna get into this. I'm gonna talk about a concern, but I'm gonna talk about that there's an area of concern with this inside of this concern, if that makes sense. So the pass rush, right? I'm telling you now, I'm gonna list that as an area of improvement for him, right? And when we transition to the next segment. But in that, I think that there's an upside for him being a pass rusher. Like I think a strength is his athleticism, like you talked about, DP, that like this is not a sloppy player. Like I think if you put him in a gap and tell him to just simply work up field to shoot a gap, I think he can provide pressure. This is right now, he's a kind of a slow burn pass rusher, right? That needs some development. But because he's athletic enough, DP, I wouldn't be surprised if his best pass rush comes year 2, year 3 in the NFL. If he gets with a really good NFL coach, or different scheme, whatever that may be, and he's able to just simply work up field, he knows when to trigger to work up field. So I think that's a strength to be able to draft a guy that for sure is a plug and play anchor in the middle of your defense. But you're like, wait, this guy's actually athletic. Like he's not just a big guy. You just have to sit there in the middle and you're like, you know what, that's your only job. Is there upside for him to be a 3-down player? And I think there's some potential there, because if you want to keep a big person on the field, if it's 3rd and 5 and you're not sure if they're gonna run the ball up through the football, right? I think you can keep him on the field, and there's some development part with him. But I think it all starts with the fact that he is athletic and he carries himself. He has a strong frame, and it's not bad weight.
No, 100%. I think with that power, the anchor ability, this is like, man, I need this guy on my defensive line, because he's like, okay, I know for a fact, again, as I said earlier, he's going to elevate your run game. He's not going to get moved off the ball. He's not getting pushed back and knocked back 3-4 yards. He's not allowing that penetration of the offensive line, because typically in the trenches, you want to see, okay, who's going to reset the line of scrimmage? Is the O-line or the D-line, right? If the O-line resets the line of scrimmage, they're creating penetration. They're getting upfield. And now the running back gets to at least get 3 yards, because the line of scrimmage is reset upfield. If you're a defensive line, you want to get into the backfield and push them backwards, guys. So I think he's one of those guys that, and I think he'll be a culture change on the defensive line, where like that motor he plays with, that physicality and aggressiveness he plays with against the run, like that's the type of stuff that can be infectious for the rest of the defense. Like, man, my 330-pound DT is tracking the ball on the wide zone away from him. You know what I mean? We all need to be running to the ball. That's when he's one of those guys that he plays with a good high motor, things like that. He's always going to the ball, where in practice, coach is looking at him like, hey, safeties, why are we lacking behind? Like let's everybody gets right. Let everybody get right. He's one of those type of guys, because you got no excuse when you're a 200-pound safety and you lollygagging, in pursuit drills, and you got 330 pounds, on this high horse working to the ball. I really love his game, Keith.
Yep, I agree with DP. Let's go ahead and do this, man. I started to work into it a little bit in this segment, right? So I kind of leaked the information a little bit. But let's get into the concerns for Amari Washington, the defensive tackle from Oregon. Let's discuss that coming up.
Running a business shouldn't feel like you're trying to connect a bunch of systems that were never designed to work together. One app for accounting, another for inventory, another for sales, and somehow none of them talk to each other. That's where Odoo comes in. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software that brings every part of your business together in one powerful platform. From sales and accounting to inventory and marketing, everything works in one place, helping your team move faster, stay organized, and focus on growing the business instead of managing software. The best organizations know that success isn't just about talent. It's about having everyone working toward the same goal. And that's true in sports, just like it is in business. I mean, look at the reigning, defending Super Bowl champions, the Seattle Seahawks. After acquiring Sam Darnold, they played as one sound, one band, and they played together to win the ultimate prize, the Super Bowl. Great organizations win because operations matter. That's why you should get Odoo. Try it for free today. Odoo.com/lockedon. That's ODOO.com/lockedon. Support for today's episode comes from Warby Parker. Whether you're running, golfing, hiking, coaching, or just spending a lot of time outdoors, regular sunglasses can slip, bounce, fog up, or make it harder to see clearly when you're moving. Warby Parker Sport was designed to solve those problems with performance features like no-slip nose pads, a wraparound design for a wider field of vision, and lightweight frames, plus more. And beyond sport, they also offer prescription glasses, contacts, online eye exams, and more than 300 retail stores across the country, making eye care simple and convenient. And for me, the no-slip nose pads is a game changer. Going outside with my 6-year-old son, who's full of energy, throwing the football with him, chasing him, having a good time, it's major. Eyewear that's made to move with you. Right now, buy one pair of glasses and get 20% off any additional pair at warbyparker.com/lockedon-NFL. That's 20% off any additional pairs when you purchase at Warby Parker, WARBY, Parker.com/lockedon-NFL. Breaking down the concerns for Oregon, defensive tackle, 6'3", 330-pounder, Amari Washington. Keith, negatively or concern-wise, what stood out on film for you? You said it was, did you say pass rush?
Yeah, just area of improvement. And I didn't say, and I don't want to say it's not a concern, right? Because of what you expect to draft him to do. I just think if we're talking about even elevating his draft stock even more, right? Or this is kind of leaking information. Well, not leaking information, but kind of projecting him. Could this be one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL if he has the run game and then add some pass rush ability to that? And I think that's the thing. I'm looking for him to work on more hand counters and really just have a clear and decisive plan, DP, to get to the quarterback. And part of that could be roll, right? Like you don't know what some of these teams, like for sure Georgia. Trying to think, maybe a Texas A&M, Alabama too is one of those, especially with the interior defensive linemen. You can tell that they have to play the run first, right? Like it looks like to play the run first and then work into the pass rush. And then obviously their program, right? Just emphasis on the trenches, they may be the same way. And and the crazy part is we kind of have that conversation about Mateo a little bit too. Like it seems like he plays the run first, which is not, I'm not saying it's an issue, but I'm saying that for some players triggering that run to run game to pass rush, it can be delayed at times, but I think that's an area of improvement for him that I think can happen. And if you do that, man, it can be a whole lot for Amari Washington.
No, 100%. The sack production, I'm with you because the hand counters, and because when you have that type of strength and his arm length looks more than functional and everything, that power and that get off for 330. Now we just add a couple hand counters. I'm not telling you to be you don't got to be Myles Garrett. You don't have to be TJ Watt, some just kung fu master with your hands. But if we just add a couple counters that you can utilize whenever they're expecting power. Because I think that's a big thing for me is hey, when you watch the NBA, you see guys who are expecting contact, right? You're playing against one of those physical defenders who likes to reach and bump and all that stuff. They're like, okay, cool. Crafty scores okay, I know the bump's coming. I know you're going to throw that shoulder, spin off, layup. This is I got a counter for that. For him, it's just when they're starting to expect your power, give them a little something finesse-wise, right? Give them a little, or you can, again, push-pull. I always go back to when you're a big defensive tackle, if you can get a little pin, a little pushback, right? With that power you have to where they're trying to anchor, they're trying to drop you. You see the offensive linemen's heads push back. Their feet are winged. They're just trying their best to fight for their dear life to stay in that situation, in control. Once you realize, hey, you can't move, you're not moving anymore, boom, push, pull. Now I'm right in the backfield and create those quick wins because you already know, like power-wise, you're going to be able to collapse the pocket. You're going to be able to get into the face of the quarterback, stop the run game, things of that nature. You're going to be able to eat up space and take up two gaps and all that type of stuff. He's a guy that O-line coach is going to tell, hey, center guard, we have to double team him. Like, we have to double team him. Like, we can't leave him in solo situations because he's too big, he's too strong, he's too physical. We got to double team him. And when those type of things happen, like, and again, when your power's not there, or your power's there, it's just not, two guys can nullify. You know what I mean? One guy, if they do it right. Do you have anything else in your bag? Or if you're dealing with I think Zach Martin's retired. But you talking, those some of the best guards we've seen in the NFL.
The Quentin Nelsons, right?
Yeah, Quentin Nelson and all those. Like, man, you got big Trey Smith over in Kansas City. You dealing with some big boys who can brawl. So, like, okay, do you have a counter for that power? Because they're power players too. They're gonna get their hands on you. They're gonna be reps where they can stop your momentum. Do you have the ability to knock their hands down, clear that shoulder, and get into the backfield and do it quickly? Because if you don't, then you become a slow burn pass rusher, right? And then everybody, people cool with a slow cooked meal on a Sunday. Like, people cool with that. Wife throws something in the crock pot, like, hey, it's gonna take 12 hours. That's fine. She throw it in the night before. We don't need you being the night before pass rusher, right? We need you to be a game day passer. So I want to see that with him, and just like I said, the counters, the hand placement. Sometimes I think we talked about it with David Stone. With him being a big guy, you got a big body, big strike area. His hands need to come inside. He needs to work his hands down and not be so wide with his strikes. Because again, like I saw some pass rush reps where he got stalemated because his hands got outside and then he couldn't get. You're a big boy, so it's like I can't squeeze my hands back inside to refit. And then the guard just had his hands right there on the rib cage, and he controlled the rep. And it was like, all right, yeah, your strikes need to be more nuanced, more technical of where you want to strike a guy, that shoulder to chest plate to where you can control the rep. Don't give them your chest, your core, because that's when they can control you and keep you out of the backfield.
Yeah, no, 100%. Not like and I think what we describe in DP, and that kind of sets the foundation for how we feel about him as a player. We're discussing nuanced and detailed things, right? And I think it's very coachable things too with him. You feel like, hey, you get with a good D-line coach, able to coach you through these situations, these processes. I wanted to ask you, where do you feel, or I don't know if you feel one way or the other, do you think he's a 3-4 or 4-3 guy? Can he play either or? And then I know you talked about potentially kicking. Well, that was with David Stone on yesterday's podcast. Yeah. But do you think there's other alignments that he can play effectively? Like, can he play the 4-eye in a 3-4 scheme? Like, or do you think this is just, hey, primarily your nose tackle and be done?
I definitely think he's scheme versatile, Keith. Because I mean, I always go back to Carolina. Derek Brown does not play nose tackle. That's why they had Ashawn Robinson there. That's why they drafted Lee Hunter. For whatever reason, that's not his game to play that zero tech. When I look at Amari Washington, I see a guy that can play both. He can play at 0, he can play 1. I think he could, like, if you want to put him, if you run an even front, he's your Jordan Davis. And I don't know if people paid attention to the Eagles defense last year. Jordan Davis was actually getting pressure and getting sacks, and he was making plays alongside, because it was like, hey, on third downs, if you want to take away Jalen Carter, cool. Jordan Davis said, I've improved my game to where I'm not just a run stuff or a first or second down player. So if you want to run a 4-3 or even front, he's your Jordan Davis in your defense, right? Now you go get your 3 tech, your Jalen Carter, whoever that may be, and now you roll with it, right? But he's definitely the Jordan Davis in a 4-3. If you're running 3-4, I can see him playing 0 tech, but I also can see him if you wanted to, which would be just a cheat code, truthfully, because like as a run defender, that's what made Derek Brown so good coming out of college, was that run defense. It's the same thing with Amari. Like, you put Amari as that kind of 4-eye 5 tech, he's shaded inside of the tackle. It's him. you're not running outside. Like, you're not running in that direction. You know what I mean? Depending on who you got at the outside linebacker spot, yeah, you may as well go ahead and take whatever bet you have and run up the A gaps or run opposite side. Like, you know what I mean? You're not running. So I definitely think he's scheme versatile. I think you can get the best of both worlds out of him playing in the even front or reducing them or moving them around in the 3-4. Either way, like, this guy gives you that flexibility to really just kind of mix and match based on who you're playing.
Yeah, no, and I asked that, DP, because some teams may already have a defensive tackle, right? Like a run-stopper, but you're sitting there and you're like, hey, this guy is pretty doggone good. Do we still select him? So that's why I was asking. I wonder if there's an opportunity to be able to double or triple 100%. Down on this skill set and just add to the
Texans. Let's the Texans go add him to Caden McDonald. Yeah, like, okay, right. We got him, Caden, Will Anderson, and Daniil Hunter. Like, well, you know what? You're not going to run. You're not going to pass. We're about to, start winning these games with giving 3 points allowed type situation. Right. That's when those situations. I think he gives you more pass rush than a Caden did.
Yeah, I agree. Well, DP, let's go ahead and do this, man. Let's get to the segment where we drop the grade, right? What draft grade are we giving Oregon defensive tackle Amari Washington heading to the 2026 college football season? We'll discuss that coming up next.
There are more live events than ever we're seeing right now. Games, concerts, comedy shows, festivals. The hard part isn't figuring out where I want to go. It's getting tickets to the show. Between long wait times, confusing checkout processes, and surprise fees, buying tickets can sometimes feel harder than it should be. And that's why so many fans have turned to Game Time. The app is built to make buying tickets simple with upfront pricing, seat views before you buy, and exclusive saving opportunities to help get you to the events you want without the usual hassle. And my biggest pet peeve, the thing I hate the most, is when I think I found a good deal. And I'm like, oh, yeah, this is right up my alley. Hit checkout, go check out, and the price takes a steep jump. I don't like it, but shout out to Game Time because they take the guesswork out. And again, take the guesswork out of buying tickets to every type of event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code Locked On to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, use the redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Locked On NFL Draft, your first listen of the day. Thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network in America. It's all because of you, our everydayers. Explaining the grade for big 6'3", 330-pound defensive tackle, star defensive lineman for the Oregon Ducks, Amari Washington. Keith, what grade did you give the big boy?
I gave the big boy a big first round grade, DP. I was thoroughly impressed with him. And just looking at this past draft class, I believe he was draft eligible because I know he's somebody we discussed briefly or watched film on this past draft class. I'm looking at that draft class, DP, and I think he'd have been a first rounder. We had guys, I think the first couple of defensive tackles go off the board, I believe was it Caleb Banks and then Peter Woods?
Yep.
I think so. I think that was the first two defensive tackles off the board. I think he could have been a first rounder. You look at the Caleb Banks situation, Minnesota Vikings, would you probably have rathered Amari Washington, like a real run stopper for yourself? So I gave him a first round grade. I didn't put him in the rare category yet because there are a couple things I want to see, but man, extremely talented. And I think, you go pound for pound, not taking in position value at all, right? In regards to the draft, this could be a guy that also could place himself as a top 10 draft prospect because I think the dominant traits he has are so dominant.
100%. I'm with you. I gave him a first round grade as well, Keith. I gave him an immediate impact starter.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, it's the type of guy that can definitely come in and just, like I said, raise the floor of your defense. And again, even on pass rush situations, there's value there with being able to collapse the pocket with power. And
you can't ignore him. I think that's the thing, that he is disruptive enough to where it's like you have to account for him as a pass rusher.
100%. I think this year is going to be big for him, improving just the hand usage and hand counters, creating more of a narrative around him that, hey, I am truly a 3-down player, and it's proven. Not a projection, but it's proven. And I think for him is just improving the hand counters and improving the hand placement and just being able to add more to the sack production in 2026 is going to help him, because I think if he comes in with a similar stat line with 2 sacks, 2 QB hits, is he still a first-round player? For me, 100%. I can see teams waiting until mid between pick 15 and 20 or 20 to 25 and say, we'll positional value and okay, is the upside there, they'll wait. You know what I mean? If you don't show them that, hey, I can rush the passer consistently on third downs and create that type of those type of situations. But again, power, strength, quickness for size and everything. A lot of things, lot to love about Amari Washington. Now, hey, big fella, can you take that next step? Because if you do, could you truly be in the era of, hey, you think about, like, and when I say take that next step, we fast forward to the end of the season, going into the draft season, and he's coming off a 7-sack, 35 pressure season, and it's not just power and run game that we're applauding him for. It's, man, Keith, he was quick off the ball. He's winning the shoulder, beating the angles, things of that nature, and he looks way more nuanced and detailed. Because again, when you're powerful, that's what they're expecting from you. When you can add another counter to that and add a more finesse counter and bag to that, again, he's 330, so I'm not asking him to be. You're not Mason Graham. I'm not actually to be that Kobe Turner, Aaron Donald. I'm not actually to do any of that. But you add more, a little bit more finesse and those counters to your bag. Now you're just truly an unblockable player, because it's like, okay, power, I can get you, and I can beat you with quickness as well.
Yeah, no, 100%. DP, let's get into this. I wanted to ask you, I didn't know if you had any NFL comps. What are some NFL comps that come to mind for you?
Man, I was thinking about a couple guys, Keith, that really stood out to me. One with the Baltimore Ravens right now, 6'4", 325, Travis Jones. And Travis Jones was a guy that was, we saw him up close and personal at the Senior Bowl and everything. He had quickness for 325. Knew he was powerful, heavy-handed. And I think he was coming from UConn, and he was
from UConn. Yep,
small school guy, and he was out there dominating big school offensive linemen at the Senior Bowl a couple years ago, and I believe he got paid by the Baltimore Ravens and everything. He either got paid or supposed to get paid, whatever the case may be. But he's really talented tackle that can collapse the pocket in the passing game, but also you're not running on him 9 times out of 10. You got to run away from him to neutralize him in the run game. So I thought about Travis Jones, and I thought about another big 300-plus pounder from Alabama, Marcel Darius, 6'3", 320.
Oh, you took it back.
Took it back, man. Listen, was it him and Big Terrence Cody? Mount Cody. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I know Texas fans remember, Marcel Darius, because he hurt.
Colt
McCoy in the playoff game or championship game, whatever it was, and everything. So yeah, I think Marcel Darius, power, strength, leverage, he was really good against the run. He just didn't. I think that's kind of the low end. No disrespect to Marcel Darius, that's the low end, because Marcel didn't give you. I don't remember him giving you that high octane pass rush ability and everything, but against the run, he was stout.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the same thing I did on yesterday's episode. I'm not gonna list 3 guys. I'm gonna list one other guy. This guy, he was a first round. He's a first round draft pick. You mentioned Mason Graham a lot, right? Recently.
Yeah.
I want to talk about his teammate though, Kenneth Grant. Who would you rather, Kenneth Grant or Amari Washington? They're both big boys.
They're both big dudes.
310, 315, or 330 mark. Pretty big boys. So and if you draft them to be run stoppers initially. So comparing and contrasting, which one would you rather?
Definitely very similar profiles. I would probably lean Amari, because I feel like Amari was better early at coming early as a run defender. Where my biggest knock on Kenneth Grant coming out of Michigan was you weren't the guy that teams were willing to double team, which you would just, if you stood him and Mason Graham beside each other, it was I might want to double team this dude because he's 6'3", 330, or whatever the case be. But it was the opposite. Teams would double team in the 296-pound defensive tackle and everything. But, Kenneth Grant, first step quickness, agility, could cross face. He had a lot, to offer too. And he went, top 15 to the Miami Dolphins and everything.
Somewhere 15, 18, somewhere around there.
Yeah, he went top 20 to the Miami Dolphins. But I would probably lean Amari Washington. This guy, I know that, hey, double teams, two gapping, he comes in a much more prepared and equipped and experienced versus those type of situations. And then he also was dominant in those situations as well.
Yeah, and I think that he carries the weight better too, like the strength portion of it. I think there's an athleticism portion for Amari Washington where I give him a little bit of the nod. But overall, DP an immensely talented player. And like I said, don't be surprised as we release big boards and things like that. If you see this guy closer to being in the top 10 than the top 20 or top 30, even though he's a defensive tackle. Much respect to this young man. Definitely a really talented and skilled player. But DP, that wraps up another episode, man, of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. Want to end this podcast all by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. That right there is my guys, my co-host, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like we like to say, man, y'all come talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts. Get the latest episode as soon as it is available. Coming up on tomorrow's show, we're going to talk Ahmad Moten Sr., the defensive tackle for the Miami Hurricanes, as he looks to anchor that defensive line group that hopes to get back to the CFP with my QB1, Darius, leading the way. So we're going to talk about that on tomorrow's show. So come join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.